Hey, wanted a game-breaking wide receiver to make this Vanderbilt offense explosive. How is Vanderbilt's offense attractive to wide receivers? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. On this episode, I would like to explore the notion that this offense is very unattractive to superstar wide receivers. Why is that? Why does it seem that way, at least? Is it because people think they're too run-based? Do they not believe that Pavia can get them the ball? Like, what are the factors that make this offense seem less attractive? And what about it? What are some hidden reasons that it could potentially be super attractive? We'll explore all of those things. Also, you've got to look at, some portal targets that are out there. There's some wide receivers that Vandy is pursuing. So there might be a Vandy State Aggie door sitting out there ready to come on board. So that's what's kind of driving this discussion about wide receivers. So I wanted to kind of look and examine this offense and just see what it's like for wide receivers and see how they can make an impact, what kind of receiver you need to make an impact, and all of that good stuff. So we're going to take a look at all that. And then, of course, baseball, they just, is it concerning? I didn't really get a chance to spend a lot of time on it on the last episode. So, how concerning is it? We'll discuss that further. But thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to you everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So here's the thing. When you look at wide receivers, like I said, I asked the question, okay? And I saw this on 247. I saw a discussion about this, so I thought I would, chime in about it and really just kind of relay my thoughts and things like that. So, because it's an interesting topic. It really is, because people, I think, they look at it and say, okay, well, you look at these aspects of this, like, why can't we get a game-breaking wide receiver? Well, it's because we're this, it's because we're that, we're antiquated, or we run the ball too much, or we don't have a quarterback that can push it downfield, or we don't have a line that can block, or we don't have receivers that can create separation. Like, there's a lot of these factors that go into it, or a lot of maybe excuses as to why we can't get one. NIL is also one of them, which I don't think that's an issue. I think NIL-wise, if Vandy really wanted to, they could compete with anybody. I think people don't realize how much money Vandy probably actually has if they'd be willing to put it into the NIL pot. So here's some factors. Here's how I think a wide receiver fits. Okay, now I have to lay this out there first. The identity is quick pass, run, vertical shots. That's kind of the progression. Aside from vertical shots, that's kind of the progression as a wide receiver, right? Quick pass, run. So your passing game is going to be quick. And then you're going to be run based, whether it's RPO or you're blocking for a run. And then, your vertical shot stuff, your vertical stuff downfield. So knowing that that's what the identity is, like, the ball needs to get out quick. The ball needs to get into the defense quick. Like, Vandy wants to operate efficiently within their offense. So in order to do so, this also helps them control the clock better, because they're not going to start launching the ball down the field and try to score in 10 or less plays, because the depth and the philosophy is based on the level of depth that they had when they came in. That might be able to change a little bit based on their addition of more depth. But for the most part, their ball control style is a big part of why they won 7 games last year, why this group, or last year's group, won 7 games and had a chance to legitimately win 9. They could have beaten Georgia State. They should have beaten Georgia State. They were one defended pass away from beating Missouri in double overtime. There's a couple other things that happened in that game that would have ended it in regulation also. So they're very close to pulling that game out. They win those 2 games. That's 8 in the regular season. and then they win their bowl game. That's probably 9 wins right there. So it's ball control. It's trying to get yards after catch. It's trying to get chunk plays and really try to control the clock. So that's why it's so heavy on the run. That's why it's so heavy on the quick pass. Now, for a game-breaking wide receiver, let's say one that would fit in the first round of the NFL draft that's going to happen later on as I'm recording right now, right? So you want to get a wide receiver like that. Well, you have to be in the NIL market for that. And I think Vandy would be competitive if there was a guy that was interested. But the notion that those guys aren't interested in Vandy, I don't think necessarily goes with scheme because, I'm going to jump down to point 4 here. The notion that this offense is stubborn and is false. I think Beck and Jerry Kill will adjust to personnel. I think they'll do a great job of doing that. I think if you get, let's just say, for example, CeeDee Lamb was a transfer portal guy this year. Like, let's just say he's in college. Let's put CeeDee Lamb, like, let's say he was an unknown prospect. Let's say he's at Arkansas State. Okay. You got CeeDee Lamb at Arkansas State. We don't know much about CeeDee Lamb. We know he's great. We know a lot of programs are after him, right? We know like Tennessee's after him, Oklahoma's after him. That's where he ended up going. Texas is at, like, how do you compete with those guys for a wide receiver? Okay. And right now, I think it honestly is just the stigma of playing for Vandy. Like, I think it's a lot of that because this offense is very role-based. And some of those, right now it goes through the tight ends because those are our most dynamic pass catchers. Those are the guys that keeps the chains moving. Those are the guys that keeps Vanderbilt's identity afloat, right? You control the ball by moving it first down to first down to first down, right? You move the chains. That's how you get this offense going, right? What's 3 plus 3 plus what's 4 plus 3 plus 3? First down. So yeah, it's it's short passes, get the ball out quick, get the ball moving, get the defense on its heels so that when it comes time for a vertical shot, you have a wide open deal. So it's very role based right now, but let's just say CeeDee Lamb's like, you know what? Me and Diego, we went to this camp together. We're boys. Like, this is my guy. And I want to go to Vandy. You don't think – I'll come back to this graphic in a second. You don't think that Jerry Kill would be like, this guy is incredible. But we're going to ignore him because, we got Cedric Alexander, we got Diego Pavia. We're just going to run the ball. We're just going to let him out there blocking, right? You think that's going to happen? No. And do you think you think that person if they were to convince him to come on a visit, do you think that person would do you think they would say that? No. They would show them every possible way. They're like, oh, we're going to get CeeDee Lamb. So here we go. And that would be how that goes, right? Your offense better run through a guy like that. Okay. If that guy comes onto your campus. Now, I think to be able to get that guy onto campus, I don't think it's scheme based, right? Because good offensive coordinators are recognized around college football. Good offensive coordinators, guys know, guys aren't as dumb as people think they are. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, they're just dumb. They're flashy. They just want to go where all the money is and what the flashiest team looks like. And yeah, they're looking at more than that. Yeah, NIL is important. There's people out there that go just for the money. Yeah, absolutely. There's people out there go just for the flash. Absolutely. But the smart ones, the successful ones, they go for where they feel comfortable. They go to where they know they can excel and where they will be utilized. And a coordinator worth his weight is going to utilize that player. I don't care what your offense is, you're going to utilize that player. I want to give you a name. Demaryius Thomas. Where did he play his college football? Georgia Tech. What offense was Georgia Tech running when Demaryius Thomas was on campus? The flex bone. Spread option flex bone. Guess what they don't do a whole lot of in that offense? Pass the ball. So guess what he was doing? He was catching deep shots. Guess where he got drafted? Oh, yeah, the first round. So scheme doesn't matter a whole lot, right? Paul Johnson found a way to utilize Demaryius Thomas to the best of his ability within his scheme. And it worked. They went to the Orange Bowl that year. I think they won the Orange Bowl. They won the ACC, and I think they won the Orange Bowl that year. They had Jonathan Dwyer. They had Josh Nesbitt as quarterback, and they had Demaryius Thomas at wide receiver. They called him Bebe. But it was like, it was the ultimate, like, hey, we got this freaking stud wide receiver. We're not going to just let him waste away and block. And in this transfer portal era, he may have left. I don't know. I don't know if he would have left or not. He may have. He would have. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that a good coach is going to find a way to use those guys. And players recognize that. And I think you're starting to see the level of talent go up. Like defensively, the caliber of players that are coming to Vanderbilt defensively is drastically improving. Why? Because they saw how this defense played last year, and they're like, oh, I'm better than that guy. And he plays just like me, but I'm better. He's going to utilize me in that. Like, come on, like Randon Fontenot could have gone anywhere he wanted to. He chose to play at Vanderbilt because I look forward to being able to get the chance to ask him this. But if I had to guess, he probably chose Vanderbilt because I truly believe that he was a firm believer in the way Clark Lee was doing things schematically, defensively, that he's like, I like the way I'm being utilized in this defense. I'm going to come down and ball out in this defense. And that's exactly what he's done, right? Miles Capers balling. Like, you're not seeing a ton of these defensive guys fleeing to the portal. Like Demaryius Thomas, defensive tackle, I don't know why he went. It's got to be a money thing because it's certainly not how he's going to be used, right? These corners these guys are staying. Why? Because this defense is schematically really good. We're finally, I think, building the depth to make this a truly dangerous defense. So the same thing can apply offensively. You just need pieces, right? So if I'm a wide receiver, I'm going to look at this thing and say, hey, like, I get a chance to play with Diego Pavia, but, there's a reason why it hasn't happened yet. So I want to explore those reasons, okay? But, the last thing is to be able to, for this offense is to be able to separate quick, accelerate fast, get yaks, and then vertical separation. Like that's kind of like the last important, I don't want to say least important, that doesn't sound right, but like, you don't necessarily have to be an elite vertical separator to thrive in this offense. If you can catch a slant and house it, dude, you're going to be special. But I think a lot of these, I really do think it comes down to, and wide receivers kind of still that like, you've heard the word diva before, but like it's still kind of that brand recognition thing, right? That's where I think your issue is. Okay. Now defensively, I think they're getting some guys. They're still not getting the upper crust of defensive players, but their level of talent is raising on that side of the ball because I think the scheme is starting to make this Vanderbilt defense possibly a brand name. We'll see after this year if they can take that next step. I think offense is going to take that huge step this year. And I think if Vanderbilt can turn more into a brand name, they're in a brand name conference, so they got that at least going for them. But for people choosing between big schools and Vanderbilt, there's still that stigma. It's Vanderbilt. It's just little old Vanderbilt. And that's what we're playing for. And these big name guys, they still see that as a step down when in actuality, you're living in Nashville, one of the fastest growing cities in the country. You've got a really good NIL market here. And I think Vanderbilt's, finally starting to realize that. And you've got a good support system now. I think you're starting to get a program that's really stabilizing. And then, I think you've got a pipeline of quarterbacks, which, a lot of these guys have missed their chance to play with Diego Pavia, but like the foundation that he set, I think you're going to have some special guys that are going to be able to really push the ball down the field even better than Pavia is able to do. So, as a receiver, I've got my eyes on Vanderbilt because this program is on the verge of being able to land that type of guy. It's just got to, I think as a program, as a product, I think it's got to get more on par with the brand names in the conference, like the Texases, the Tennessees, the Georgias, the Alabamas. Like those are the brand names. They have the bigger traditions. It is what it is, right? That's where we're at right now. Vanderbilt's an improving brand, all right, but they are still improving, and they are improving. The depth is getting better. The quality of talent that's coming in is getting better. It's going to continue on that trend. And next thing you know, with the NIL possibilities, they could find themselves in a really, really, really good situation moving forward. So why is it? To kind of, in a very long roundabout way of going about this, it's not about scheme. It's not about the quarterback they're paired with. It's not the fact that receivers probably think, oh, Vanderbilt just runs the ball. That's all they're going to do is they're going to run the ball. They're going to see me come in and they're just going to run the ball. Yeah, that's not happening. If they see, like, let's say Zachariah Branch would have signed at Vanderbilt instead of Georgia, you think Tim Beck would ignore him? Not a chance. They would find ways to get him and scheme him open and get the ball in his hands. Why? Because they're smart, right? They would adjust their identity, they would adjust their scheme, and they would adjust their game plan to feature him a lot more. Now, they would still make it work within their framework. They wouldn't completely go like, hey, we're going to be ball control. Now we're going to be air raid, like snap ball every 10 seconds. They're not going to make a drastic shift, but they're going to make adjustments to like, hey, we got this freaking weapon over here who's probably, one of the top guys in the like, this guy's gonna help us score points. Like, we can't ignore that. Like, they're gonna, they wouldn't do that. That would be stupid. So, but that's how I feel. And there's some other targets that are out there on the table there for Vanderbilt to recruit. And we'll talk about those guys here in just a second. But it's all about building that brand, build the brand. And I think Vanderbilt's doing a good job of it. They just got to continue, just build the brand. And I think that's why. And I want to come in here and be like, nah, it's like, it's a fun offense to play in. You just got to like give it a chance, So that's kind of where I'm at on that. But we'll talk about brand. We'll talk about portal guys. Who's in the portal? Who are we going after next? Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take on your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And it's all about finding the right talent. If you need help with the marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. And they have fast and easy hiring too. So posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, multiple qualified candidates, you'll have that many to choose from, right? And it's cost effective too. And it's, instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps find affordable top tier freelancers to scale my business effectively. So visit Upwork.com right now, post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent to grow your business today. All right, we're all about the wide receivers today, but thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. If you need a second listen, by all means, check us out at lockedonvandy.com. If you need a second listen, of course, what you need to do is you need to visit Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job there, so make sure you're in on that. So, the draft is this weekend. Is CJ Taylor and DeRicky Wright, are any of them are they going to get drafted? That'd be kind of cool, right? That'd be kind of cool for us to see that. So I'm good there. But anyway, we're talking about portal guys, right? And there's some targets out there that I think would be a really, some really good fits to bring from the portal. And I think this is going to be kind of an exciting time to kind of see what can you make with, I don't want to say nothing out of nothing, but like, what are some guys that can come in and like prove that this offense can really kind of make it go? I think last year's group just wasn't quite there as far as being able to make it happen from the wide receiver perspective. But you need somebody that I think can make some things happen. Like here's a guy that I'm very interested in for Vanderbilt. It's he's transferring from Cal. His name's Jonathan Brady, which if you're a Cal Golden Bear fan and you happen to stumble upon this channel, A, stick around if you need a new team, but B, man, it's getting crazy over there. But Jonathan Brady, the reason why you should know that name is because he was potentially a Vandy State Aggie door. That's what they wanted him to be. But he's from New Mexico State. He has 98 career catches, 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. And he had 400 receiving yards last year. He was their leading receiver at Cal, which that probably speaks more to Cal than it does to Jonathan Brady. And that could be another reason why why they hired a new offensive coordinator who is Brian Harsin, and why he might be out the door, which is a totally separate reason. But he would be a wonderful take. I think some guy named Diego Pavia would be happy to have him. And that would, like, honestly, where Vandy is right now with like trying to erase like some of the Vandy stigma stink, like, hey, I don't want to play for Vandy like ever kind of thing. And like trying to build that new brand up. Honestly, this would be a guy to go after. This would be a guy to get, Jonathan Brady. Like, I think he would instantly boost the credibility of this offense. He's that talented. I think, is he going to be like first round talent? I don't know that, but I think he's close enough to be able to come in and do some things. And he has enough. I think he has enough rapport with Pavia and the coaching staff, because he was somebody that they went after last year, and he ended up going to Cal. But this would be an interesting name. I'm pretty sure Vandy's going to be in on him. They're looking at wide receivers. They've obviously offered Jermichael Carter from McNeese State as well, who I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about him, but that would be an interesting get as well. He has quite the market after him too. But again, they're going to have to compete with some things, and they're going to have to figure out, just kind of where he fits, or just kind of figure out how to compete for him. Because, again, he's 6'4", 192, and he's a big, tall guy, can go get it. It's just a matter of convincing him that, hey, Vandy actually is a pretty good choice for you. You're going to get a chance to be a main featured guy with an established quarterback and a couple of coordinators that aren't looking to jump ship and just do the next big thing they heard at a clinic. Like, they know their stuff, and they've established themselves as pretty good football minds, especially Jerry Kill. And so that would be an interesting get if they could pull him. So those are two names to really kind of watch for in that market. But that's two names I'm gonna kind of follow. Jonathan Brady, I think, would be a phenomenal get with the familiarity there, and some of the recognizability, because like he played at Cal, so it's like he's coming from I don't say Cal's like a powerhouse brand, but like it's a decent enough program where people are like, oh, okay, all right, we're starting to, okay, we're getting a little somewhere. He was their leading receiver too. It's not like you're getting some, eighth string bench guy who's like, okay, he was choosing between Vanderbilt and Valdosta State to transfer to. This guy's probably also got a list that's pretty, is pretty significant too. So we'll see kind of how the wide receiver targeting goes. I'd like to see Vandy get another running back, maybe the other dude that I really liked from New Mexico State. Like, this is becoming kind of funny with the Vandy State Aggie door stuff. But Monte Watkins would be a piece that I'd love for Vanderbilt to add to kind of round out this portal class and just really kind of go into 2025 on a really, really good note. So. But baseball, they need to get focused. They need to win the series. They need to show that they're elite. How do they do that? Well, we'll talk about that next. But first, we're going to talk FanDuel. Yeah, FanDuel. So the NBA playoffs, man, it's getting interesting out there. If you're a Grizzlies fan, it's probably not so interesting. But then the NBA playoffs aren't almost here; they are right on top of us. The first round games, the first round series are actually underway. So if you want to take some take some action on that, you can. They're giving new customers an incredible way to get in on said action. Right now, you can join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet and get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So if I'm you, I'm going to take my $5 bet and put it on Oklahoma City. They are crushing the Grizzlies right now. So I'm taking the Thunder in that one if I'm gonna get my $250 in bonus bets. So I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, though, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props like Luka going off. Like, I probably would have bet on that if I was betting last night. I wasn't, but from 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All righty, wrapping up the show here, Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thank you to the everydayers. And if you're still around, I really do appreciate you, loyal third segment listeners and viewers. Thank you for making us part of your day. Couple of notes before I get into baseball. Joel Wyatt, a report that I'm reading from 247. He has got some momentum. Caden Harris is committing next week. And then Joel Wyatt from the Webb School in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. I'll be honest, I don't know where that is. He's starting to warm up on Vandy a little bit. I think there's some things that have changed. Maybe that would be something that could turn the tide a little bit on this wide receiver thing. Speaking of, like if he chose Vandy over LSU or Vandy over Tennessee, like that could wake some people up and go, you have that reaction like, oh, okay, here we go. So that's cool. But he's close to committing somewhere, and Vanderbilt has a better chance than they did. So, but baseball. So Tim Corbin was, let's just say, wasn't good, right? Wasn't good. Their focus was terrible, and it was very, very concerning. But you know what? I'm really not that freaked out about it. I know a lot of people are like, I know there's some people out there that are probably doubting Tim Corbin. There's some people out there that are like, we should just move on. Just fire him. Just get rid of him. Just do whatever. We can't win with Tim Corbin anymore. The game has passed him by. I can see all of those narratives being thrown out there, right? And every time Vandy loses, that's what it is. And sometimes, like, it does seem that way. I'll give you that. There's some days where you're just like, what? But understandably so. And it's right to question that. Like, you have every right to do that. I just, I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment. I don't think the game has passed him by. I think there's some things that he's catching up on for sure, especially like trying to figure out how to improve his offensive statistics. And maybe some of that is just backing off a little bit of trying to be too technical with it. Maybe paralysis by analysis is happening there a little bit. Those guys are probably scared to go up to the plate sometimes and like not screw up. Like maybe that's in play. I don't know. But like this team, I think with their, with the game that happened on Tuesday against MTSU, like I think, with the lackadaisical approach and like the kind of, unacceptable mental focus that or lack of focus that was in that game. I don't know that that's a symptom of a bigger problem. It could be a little bit of immaturity sneaking in there of like a team that just doesn't really know how to function because they're all new together. Maybe it's a team that, they're still college kids at this point. There's still a lot of freshmen in there that just probably, this generation is more ADHD. They lose focus. There's things that happen, not trying to make excuses, but like these things happen. And so, I think, is it concerning? No, they just need to regain their focus. They just need to take a deep breath, get down to Oxford, take care of business, and come home, right? Even if they lose, even if they win 2 out of 3, that's fine. However they win it. I think the only unacceptable result that will have me really concerned is if they get swept. If they lose 2 of 3 on the road, and those two losses are like 1-run losses where it comes down to where it comes down to a good play, or Ole Miss hits the ball, drives the ball somewhere, and wins, clinches the game, or some sort of realistic baseball option where the other team won and you didn't lose, if that makes sense, right? But if you just flat out hand them the game like you did out in Oklahoma and just get your butts handed to you, then that's a different story. That's probably a little bit more concerning. That's probably a little bit more of an attitude, laissez-faire, hey, we think we've made it, but we're getting smacked back down to earth. I think it's good that MTSU smacked us back down to earth, because that's the wake-up call that I think this team needs. They lost the edge, and they lost. They need to find that edge again and just go out there and play, man. And I think that's it. And to me, their best plate appearances were when they were going up hacking, dude. They just need to go up and put the ball in play and let's roll, man. Quit thinking so much. Quit think know the situation, obviously. Know how the pitcher wants to attack you, obviously. But don't go up there with I'm only sitting on this pitch, or, hey, it's 3-2. Oh, I'm going to get this pitch. Don't go up there thinking too much. Hey, just expect, hey, if I get behind the count, he's going to try to hit me with this and that, and I'm going to be ready for it, and I'm going to take it where it needs to go, right? And baseball is you're Hall of Famer if you fail 70% of the time. So you got to take that into account as well. You just got to go up there and just let it rip, man. Have fun and play with some edge, and let's go, man. And I think everything will be okay. But that's all I got. Until next time, anchor down, behave yourselves. Peace.